All right, so hopefully you're all here to see the graduate school presentation for Criminal Justice Week. I'll start by doing a little introduction. My name is Amber Deets, and I'm currently the Director of Graduate Student Success and Recruitment for the graduate programs here at Western Oregon University. I'm also a double alum. I got my master's here in 2006 and my bachelor's here in 2003. And I've been asked to do presentations like this for the last 11 years that I've been here at Western. But one of the major things that I like to point out is that regardless of what you get your master's degree in, a master's degree is always going to set you up for success. And if we have another recession like we did in 2008 or anything like that, you typically are not going to be one of those people that is long-term unemployed. What is graduate school? I like to start with that because I don't want to assume anyone that's here just knows what graduate school is. So graduate school constitutes an advanced program of study focused on a particular academic discipline or profession. A lot of people don't think of it this way, but it can be training type grad school, like you're going to become a lawyer, or become a doctor or something like that, or academic. And in our case, ours are academic here. We'll get into that in a little bit of which programs we have to offer, but ours are academic graduate programs. A lot of people say, how can I get into graduate school? What does it take for me to make it into there? And the first thing is you need to have a GPA of at least 3.0. I always recommend, and if students come and talk to me their freshman or sophomore year, shoot for higher than that because our requirements here at Western are less than a majority of our competitors, so you want to make sure that you're reaching for as high of a goal as you want to achieve. If you do not meet the GPA requirements, a lot of schools have contingency plans. Those can be met by doing a test, such as the GRE or MAT, or in our case, we allow students to do a conditional admission for one term to meet that GPA. They kind of have we keep the spotlight on them and monitor their GPA. Another couple of things that you need to keep in track of, and we'll get to this in a minute, but you're gonna be asked in most cases for letters of recommendation and a letter of intent. Our criminal justice program requires you to do a little letter of intent. Why do you want this degree? Why are you choosing Western Oregon University graduate program? And then those letters of recommendation, students always ask me, who should I get those from? Those should be from people that you've had academic relationships with, such as your faculty member, if you've had a job here at Western, if you've had a job out in the community, asking those people ahead of time that if they're willing to write a letter of recommendation, just have those ready for you when you go to apply for graduate school. They're also going to look at your previous undergraduate coursework. People get a little bit freaked out of this, but the main thing that I look at when I have a CJ student applying for grad school is their CJ classes. So they might have had a really tough time their freshman and sophomore year doing their general ed because they didn't really care much about it. It wasn't what they were excited to study. But then they get into their junior and senior year and they're doing those criminal justice courses and they're acing them. That's what we're looking at. We are looking at the overall GPA, but we're also looking at what is your previous coursework? Where did you excel at? If you're systematically having trouble in those CJ courses, we might need to revisit, what you need to do. Another question that comes across is, why are the requirements more difficult than undergraduate? And that's because undergraduate is kind of your bridge from high school to college. And we're not expecting you to be an expert in anything at that point. But when you come and you want to apply for graduate school, we expect that you have a college education and that you've done some things while you're at college to be at a master's level, so that when we award you with this master's degree, you're not just a student with another degree, you have a student with experience and knowledge, and you are a master in that subject. Another good question, and I do this a lot for student enrichment program, and so students are like, how can I finance this? Graduate school seems so expensive, how can I do this? And first thing is, all students have the ability to apply for financial aid, and graduate school comes across with financial aid in the form of loans. Most students are eligible for those loans unless they've defaulted on their undergraduate. A lot of workplaces have employer benefits, and I always like to put a plug for if you work here at Western, you get a little bit of a tuition decrease. If you work for the state of Oregon, they have options. There's a lot of different employers that if you check in with your human resources office, then you will find out that they have these really cool benefits that can help you through grad school. And then Western has graduate assistant options. And for those of you that don't know about what a graduate assistantship is, it is a position here at Western that allows you to either be a teaching assistant or a research assistant. And while you're doing that, you work for us 20 hours a week, and we pay you your entire tuition, up to 12 credits per term, and also a monthly stipend. It's salary, and so you get like a little paycheck in addition to your tuition covered. You're responsible for your fees, but other than that, you can get through grad school pretty inexpensive. Also, some students know from the beginning that they want to go to grad school. From their freshman, sophomore year, they're working during the summer, they don't have a lot of bills during their undergrad, so they'll start stocking away for grad school when they're in undergrad, and that's a phenomenal idea. I like to teach some financial literacy classes to kind of teach students how to facilitate this if they decide that they want to go to grad school. But I always leave you with this. Is graduate school the right financial decision for you? We got to make sure that when you're making this decision that your return on investment is worth it. If you don't know what you want to do and you're just going to grad school to stay out of paying student loans or something, probably not the right financial decision for you. But there's so many good things about going to graduate school. Students like to ask me, what is a typical graduate student schedule? Right now, this is my schedule in undergrad. What does it look like going into grad school? And there's so many different ways that you can do this. I will say 95% of our graduate programs currently are online, completely online. Our criminal justice programs are completely online. They do not have an in-person component. Some of our graduate programs have courses that are during the 8 to 5. Those are like our music program and those things. And then other ones will have a late afternoon, early evening. There's some discussion, we haven't decided, but there is some discussion in the future of doing some workshop classes at the Salem campus for our CJ program, so that might be something in the future that we have available for you. And then some of our programs are hybrid, so they'll do an online component and meet maybe one night a week or one weekend a month. Graduate programs can typically be completed in 2 to 3 years, and I will say that all of our CJ programs are scheduled and formatted to be completed in 2 years or less. Okay, this one, and I like to just put this out there. Students will say, is there a difference between grad school and my current classes? 100%. One of those big things is personally responsible. You're not going to have someone necessarily like holding your hand each step of the way saying, this is what you need to do. The expectation is that you've already finished undergraduate school and that you're a responsible adult and you're going to get through this program. The financing options are different. With undergrad, you are eligible for grants and some different scholarships that you're not for grad school. Also, the coursework load. Students are always like, you only take 9 credits? 9 credits is full time? Right now I'm taking 12 to 18. The difference is in grad school, what you might read in the entire term, you might be required to read in 1 to 2 weeks of grad school. I always tell students that's the biggest difference that I noticed right away was the reading requirement in grad school. And so if you're a slow reader, I caution you to do as much as you can to get your reading like speed up prior to starting grad school. The thing that I love about grad school is it professionally applies to everything. You're not going to have to ever do general ed requirements or classes that don't apply to what you want to do in your future. Every single class that you take is going to be part of what you want to do or be when you grow up. The pace of the classes is different too. In the majority of your graduate courses, you're not going to have a bunch of busy work. You might in the online component have some reflections that you're going to do weekly, but you're not going to be required to do worksheets or those weekly assignments. Most of the time you will be reading and you'll either have a final project or paper, or you might have a midterm and a final. But we're hoping that each of your classes builds upon each other. So you're not just doing all these busy work and regurgitating, you're actually mastering the information that you're being given. A big transition that I like to share here between undergrad and grad school is that you may be in a position where you're working. Like you might decide, and that's how I decided to go to grad school. I worked for 2 years and then started grad school, and you're kind of in this adult landscape where you're going to be personally responsible for making sure that your entire schedule is organized and fits your needs. No one's going to be there to be like, okay, this is what you have to do. We are, as the Director of Graduate Student Success and Recruitment, I am here to provide you with student success tips, but you will be, the kind of expectation is that you have those skill sets already. Here's some great benefits of grad school. You have more education in a selected field, for one. Better pay, most definitely. Having a graduate degree elevates you to 15 to 20% more income capability, more job opportunities. Just because your degree is in criminal justice doesn't mean that that's what you're going to do. I'm a perfect example of that. I use my background and I teach as a non-tenure track, but I'm working in higher ed, so it doesn't lock you into that field, but I have never, even in times where like I worked for a grant and the grant ended, I was only unemployed for 2 weeks before finding another job. That master's is always going to help you. Some jobs require it. Many of our positions here at Western require a master's degree. Many, if you want to be in management in the state system, you're going to need at least a master's degree. Should I go to grad school? This is kind of something that you should always check with yourself. Why do you want to go? Is it for the right reasons? Is mom and dad telling you have to go? Is this something you've had your heart set on? Is your professor saying, wow, you're really amazing. I really think that you should do this. These are the opportunities that are going to be open for you. What are your career goals? Does this assist you in meeting them? If your career goal is you already know that you're going to get the job and make $50,000, is it financially responsible to take out $50,000 in debt on top of your undergraduate debt? Maybe not. What are you going to specialize in? I was asked to talk a little bit about other things, like if you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to law school. So most definitely, you need that degree. There are some jobs that you can't do them without the degree, so definitely. Do you have the motivation? If I have a student visit my office and they're just totally spent and done with undergrad, I always caution them, take a year, come back and visit me. Don't just jump right into this because you need a little bit of an educational break before you take this on. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody says you have to go directly from undergrad into grad. You can do some of that. We have programs that are designed for that, but you can take some time off. Can you afford to? And then do you have the academic qualities to succeed? If you're at a 2.5 right now and a freshman, you have a little bit of time to work with that. But if you're getting ready to graduate and you're at the 2.5, we might need to work out some stuff before you'd be ready to start grad school. Now I want to talk about my favorite subject, which is the graduate programs here at Western. And since this is Criminal Justice Week, I'm going to focus on the criminal justice programs. I'd like to just take a quick break from our slideshow and show you our website so that you're familiar with that. So if you go to graduate.wu.edu, our website has all of our programs open right here, and you can do some research on your own if you'd like to know more about a program that I'm not going to cover. We also have the application button if you decide, hey, I want to apply for one of these. And then I would really suggest just kind of exploring around here what our student resources are and other opportunities as a student that you can look around. I always tell students, when you're thinking about grad school, go to their website and treat it like you have this book that you've been given for free to kind of look around and explore what kind of things do you really like about that website, what kind of things do you want to learn more about, and kind of write down some questions that you might have as you're getting ready to apply. So the programs that we currently have for criminal justice students is we've had the Masters of Arts in Criminal Justice. And that one has been around for a long time. Back when I finished it was an MS, now it's an MA. It's entirely online. It sets you up for either if you want to go in upper management of criminal justice, or if you want to get your PhD and become an academic professor in criminal justice, or you just, prior to us having the organizational leadership program, it's also a really good program for people that just want to be in leadership. Our new program that I'm really excited about that's starting here in the fall, but we've been doing classes for a year, is our Master of Science and Justice Studies, and that one again is entirely online, and the classes in this program are so exciting and fun. We have a number of different professors teaching, and this program is created for people that want to be social change agents. You want to get, maybe you're an educator and you want to create and elicit change in social policies and those kind of things, or you want to work in criminal justice and you want to create some relationships and out of the box, like completely different things that have been tried, this would be the program for you. And then we have the 2 certificates, and these certificates can be embedded in either of these master's programs. It's a little harder to embed them in the MACJ, but we can do so. And that's the Advanced Juvenile Justice Studies or the Certificate of Social Justice. The really exciting thing is these are our very first certificates that are financial aid eligible. So you can do them as standalone. Students will say, what's the benefit of that? The benefit is if you wanted to just knock some stuff out on your way there, you could get the certificate, get it awarded, then get your master's. So you have something at the halfway point to show like an agency or something like that. Regardless, if you're gonna go for your master's, make sure to get those certificates, because why not? You're gonna be doing the majority of the classes to get so. Perfect example, I finished my master's, like I said, in 2006, and these became available. So I started looking like, which classes can I fit into? And I'll finish this term, I'm adding the Advanced Juvenile Justice Studies. And that's how I know these classes that I've been able to take are incredible. The non-criminal justice programs that appeal to a lot of our criminal justice students, and I can't not speak about them, is our organizational leadership program, which is one of our hybrid programs. They are online and meet 1 night a week at the Salem campus, and that's a program, you can do it right out of undergrad, but it's a program that I would recommend, say after undergrad, you go and work at a police agency, or you go and work for Department of Human Services or something like that, and then you want to elevate into a leadership position, that would be a program that you might want to explore. You're going to learn leadership skills, you're going to learn different things of your leadership style, those type of things. And this one I'm really excited about. I did a presentation a couple months ago, but we now have AUM Pathways at WU. And what these are is they're accelerated undergraduate to master's pathways for our undergraduate students only here at WU. And they're kind of a 4+1 model. So you can get your undergrad and then a year later have your master's. Here's the really cool part. Say you're a senior in your criminal justice program, you can do 16 of our graduate courses as your upper division CJ classes, and you're paying the undergraduate rate using undergraduate financial aid, and then you're a third of the way through your CJ master's before you've ever gotten your undergraduate degree. It's just, it makes sense. Had they had this when I was an undergrad, I would have been like right in there to do it. And I also like to tell students, because you're here and you're doing that, you kind of get the first look for our graduate assistant positions too. One of our students, Shelby Moody, just finished, and she was in the AUMP, and now she's our GA. She'll only be a GA for a year because that's all she needs to it, but she's coming through with very little debt because she got that relationship established. The requirements for the AUMP, and our website for that is just wu.edu/AUMP. You need to be a senior status, so 135 credits or more. Here you need a little higher GPA, so this gets confusing for some students. To get into grad school, you need a 3.0, but for AUMP, we require a 3.25 because these are the students that are like our elite students of the CJ program. We want our top students to be involved in this process. And then you apply to both grad school and the AUMP at the same time. Dr. Misty Whitesell is the one that you would want to contact, and she can walk you through the process of how to do this if you're interested. Okay, I think I covered everything that was asked of me, but if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm also available here on campus at all times in the administration building 107, and we do have very open door policy. So if you're walking through campus and you think, hey, I want to ask a question, stop by. We like to hand out swag and talk to you. We have a multiple graduate assistant positions open for fall of 2022. I can't put that plug in enough. We have one position that's brand new for my office, which is a graduate assistant student success coordinator. I'm wanting to teach somebody to be the outreach to our graduate students and facilitate some relationships and open workshops. And then we have typically 3 CJ positions for the CJ program, but we have other ones throughout behavioral science and stuff like that that are open. The priority deadline was February 1st, but we are still accepting applications until they are filled. Do we have any questions?
WU has some amazing master's programs here in-house, but if you have students who are interested in some of the more unique or specialized fields like forensic anthropology or homeland security, how would you recommend that they go about finding good programs? Is there like a place where they can search or a suggestion as to how they might be able to find those?
Thanks, that's a good question. So the top, when I get those questions, I always say to reach out to the faculty member that maybe taught you the undergraduate course that made you interested in that, because most of the time they either came from that college or they know of the college that's available. You can start just doing Google searches. The thing that I always tell students and kind of caution them on is your first 3 that typically are going to come up in a Google search are paid universities. They are the ones for profit, and although you can get into those colleges relatively easy, they're not always the best on your resume or for your budget because they're going to be extremely expensive. They advertise like these 5-week courses or different kind of out-of-the-box, not the standard criminal justice programs. So look on those and just, you can see those right away because you'll have like a bunch of gimmicky advertising to the side. So I always pop down after the Google paid part, I go to the next school and check and start looking and kind of develop what you're looking for. Like, where are they saying their graduates are working? What kind of jobs are they getting? Do they have the ability for you to get scholarships or graduate assistant positions, those type of things? But that's where you're mostly going to start. Also, in your practicums and internships, if that's something that you're really wanting to do, talk to not only the person that's doing the one-on-one with you, but say, do you have time for me to talk to the sergeant or the person in charge so that I can ask a little bit more? I've never heard of an agency turning that opportunity down. They want to develop these relationships. They want to create passion for their students. So that would be my recommendation.
You mentioned that students need recommendation letters and letters of intent. And, sometimes it's hard to develop those relationships with certain professors or, get meaningful letters. So do you have any recommendations of how I should go about, getting to know my professors better and having them know me so that when I actually do need letters of recommendation and I'm writing things that I'm contacting people who really know me?
And I find that that's even harder now with online education, as you don't have the same relationships that you did in the classroom. I think one of the main things is if you keep your grades up and you're turning in good quality work, a lot of professors are willing to write a letter of recommendation based on your academic performance. They might keep it pretty general, but they're willing to do that for you. In addition to that, whenever there's an opportunity to do the extra or to have, a lot of professors have these Zoom meetups where you're midweek having these conversations with your professor, always attend those. Anytime that you're given the opportunity, attend these kind of things, form those relationships that you can, given the limited thing. But then when you're doing your practicum and your internships, I know that those are still pretty much a requirement. I think there's some exceptions to that. Always do your best. And when given the opportunity, when I was doing mine as an undergrad, if they invited me to National Night Out workshops, I was there. If they invited me to attend any kind of extra meeting, I was making sure that I was available and putting my face out there so that I could build those relationships. Do you have any other questions?
If some of these programs require that I take a test, like an LSAT or a GRE, can your office help me figure out how to sign up for those and study programs and how to make sure that I'm prepared to do the best that I can on those?
Our office is not a resource for that, but I will be happy to help you. So all of those tests have their own websites. They all have testing facility information in addition to these are where you can go. The LSAT especially, do not take the LSAT without going through a LSAT course that's going to teach you how to do it correctly. Willamette especially, thanks for bringing this up. We have a new thing that we have a bridge with Willamette and Western, so our Western students in certain programs can automatically be accepted to the Willamette Law School, and they get, if I'm right, they get some sort of scholarship too, but they have to take LSATs. And in addition to being a Western student, if you score high enough on your LSAT, you get all these extra scholarships and advantages. So I would go to those direct websites. So we don't require a test here at Western anymore unless you're under the GPA, and that's the GRE or the MAT. And both of them have websites, and they all have links to they're the classes that you can take. I think right now it's like a Zoom module type class that students can take and pay a little bit of money. I always tell students, like, this is kind of the difference between the two tests. GRE is general knowledge. It's kind of like an elevated SAT. The Millers, if you're more like an analytical thinker and you don't think black and white, you're gonna do better at the MAT. Some schools aren't gonna give you the ability to choose, but if a school does give you the ability to choose, kind of think that out. Like, are you going to be like the more critical thinker, or do you do best with, here's the answers and I can answer it like this? So you can do practice tests on both of those websites too. Thank you, and again, you guys can email us at any time. My website, again, is graduate.wu.edu, and my name is on there many times if you want to click a link and send me an email.